What kind of person smashes a city bus's equipment in broad daylight, with dozens of eyes watching, and thinks they'll walk away unscathed? Karen Miller, that's who. The air inside the number 7 bus to downtown Seattle was thick with the usual morning hum rain pattering against the windows, the low rumble of the engine, and the soft chatter of commuters. Then, like a storm breaking, Karen's voice sliced through it all. "This is unacceptable," she bellowed, her face red, her meaty hands slamming against the fare machine. The digital display flickered, glitching under her assault. Passengers froze, their phones already creeping out of pockets, sensing the chaos about to unfold. Karen, in her garish pink raincoat, wasn't just upset, she was a force of entitlement, ready to tear the world apart because her bus pass wouldn't scan. The driver, a wiry man named Jamal, tried to keep his cool. "Ma'am, please, I can help you manually," he said, his voice steady but firm. Karen wasn't having it. She leaned forward, her bulk looming over the fare box, and spat. "Do your job right, or I'll make sure you're fired by tomorrow." The threat hung heavy, but Jamal didn't flinch. He'd seen her type before, people who thought volume and venom could bend the world to their will. But Karen wasn't just loud. She was destructive. With a snarl, she grabbed the handrail near the driver's seat and yanked hard. The metal groaned, bolts loosening. Gasps rippled through the bus. A young woman in a hoodie, clutching her coffee, whispered to her neighbor, "Is she serious?" The neighbor, an older man with a cane, shook his head, already hitting record on his phone. Karen's rage wasn't random, it was personal. She'd been late for her shift at a downtown call center, a job she loathed but clung to for the paycheck. The bus, already 5 minutes behind schedule due to Seattle's relentless traffic, was her breaking point. Her pass, which she swore worked yesterday, kept spitting out an error. To Karen, this wasn't a glitch. It was a conspiracy. The driver, the machine, the whole damn city was out to ruin her day. She didn't care that the fare machine was public property or that her outburst was holding up 30 people. In her mind, she was the victim, and victims get to fight back. So she did, slamming her fist into the machine again, cracking the plastic casing. The bus lurched as Jamal hit the brakes, pulling to the curb. "Ma'am, you need to stop, or I'm calling the police," he warned. The passengers weren't just spectators now, they were witnesses. Phones were out, cameras rolling, capturing every second of Karen's meltdown. A teenage boy in the back, wearing earbuds, zoomed in on her face. Her lips curled in a sneer as she shouted, "You're all incompetent. I pay taxes for this garbage service." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Taxes paid for the very equipment she was destroying. But Karen didn't see it that way. She saw a world that owed her a working bus pass, a punctual schedule, a life that didn't make her feel small. Her hands moved to the digital display above the driver's seat, tugging at its wires. Sparks flew, and the screen went dark. A collective gasp rose, followed by murmurs of disbelief. Then came the twist no one saw coming. The older man with the cane, who'd been quietly recording, stood up. His name was Mr. Chun, a retired mechanic who'd ridden this route for decades. His voice, calm but cutting, broke through Karen's tirade. "Lady, I know you. You were at the community center last month, yelling at the staff about a canceled yoga class." The bus went silent. Karen's eyes widened, her mouth opening to retort. But Mr. Chun wasn't done. "You don't get to wreck our bus because you're having a bad day. We're all having bad days." His words hit like a slap, exposing Karen not as a one-off villain but a repeat offender, a woman whose tantrums followed her like a shadow. The passengers murmured, some nodding, others whispering about past run-ins with her. Karen's face flushed deeper, but she doubled down, pointing a finger at Mr. Chun. "Mind your own business, old man," she snapped, oblivious to the growing tide against her. The confrontation was reaching its peak. Jamal, still in his seat, radioed dispatch, his voice low but urgent. "We've got a situation on the 7. Passenger damaging equipment. Need assistance." Karen overheard and laughed. A harsh, mocking sound. "Go ahead. Call the cops. They won't do anything." I'm a taxpayer. Her arrogance was staggering, but it was also her undoing. The passengers, emboldened by Mr. Chen's stand, began to speak up. The young woman with the coffee, whose name was Lila, stepped forward. "You're breaking the law," she said, her phone still recording. "This is vandalism. We've got it all on video." Karen scoffed, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. She hadn't counted on a bus full of people united against her, their cameras turning her tantrum into evidence. The standoff grew electric, the air crackling with tension. Karen, cornered by the passengers' defiance, seemed to swell with fury, her pink raincoat flapping as she gestured wildly. "You think you can scare me with your little phones?" she shouted, but her voice wavered, betraying a crack in her bravado. The bus was no longer just a vehicle, it was a courtroom, and Karen was on trial. Lila, the young woman with the coffee, held her ground, her phone steady. "This isn't about scaring you," she said. "It's about accountability." The word hit hard, and for a moment, Karen's eyes darted to the broken fare machine, the dangling wires of the digital display. The reality of her actions was sinking in, but she wasn't ready to back down. Not yet. Mr. Chen, still standing, leaned on his cane and spoke again, his voice carrying the weight of years. "You're not just hurting the bus, you're hurting us. This is our ride to work, to school, to doctor's appointments. You don't get to decide, it doesn't matter." His words were a quiet thunder, resonating with the passengers. A mother with a toddler in the back nodded, her eyes fierce. The teenage boy, still filming, muttered, "She's done for." Karen's gaze flicked between them, her confidence eroding. She'd expected to steamroll everyone, as she always had at the community center, at the grocery store, at every place where her temper had won her temporary victories. But this time, the crowd wasn't scattering. They were united, and their cameras were unrelenting. The twist deepened as Lila revealed something else. "I saw you last week at the library," she said, her voice steady but sharp. "You screamed at the librarian over a late fee." She was in tears. "You don't even live in this neighborhood, do you? You just come here to make trouble." The accusation landed like a punch. Karen's face twisted, caught off guard. The passengers murmured, piecing together a pattern. Karen wasn't just a one-bus menace. She was a serial disruptor, leaving a trail of chaos wherever she went. The revelation shifted the mood from shock to resolve. This wasn't just about a broken fare machine, Anna Maria, it was about stopping someone who thrived on intimidation. Jamal, still on the radio, got a response. "Police are en route. ETA 5 minutes. The dispatcher crackled. Karen's sneer returned, but it was weaker now. "You're all pathetic," she spat, grabbing her purse as if to storm off. But the bus doors were closed, and Jamal wasn't opening them. "You're not going anywhere until the police get here," he said, his voice like steel. The passengers cheered quietly, a ripple of solidarity. Karen's eyes darted to the exit, then back to the crowd. For the first time, she looked trapped. Her hands, which had been so quick to destroy, now clutched her purse tightly, as if it could shield her from the consequences. The police arrived faster than expected, 2 officers stepping onto the bus with calm authority. The first, Officer Reyes, a woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, surveyed the scene: the cracked fare machine, the dangling wires, the passengers with their phones out. "Who's responsible for this?" she asked. Every finger pointed at Karen. The second officer, a burly man named Carter, approached her. "Ma'am, step outside with us, please." Karen's bravado crumbled. "This is a misunderstanding," she cried, her voice shrill. "The machine wasn't working. I was defending myself." The excuse was laughable, and the passengers' footage told a different story. Lila, Mr. Chen, and the teenage boy handed over their videos, each clip a damning piece of evidence. Outside, under the gray Seattle sky, Karen's world began to collapse. The officers reviewed the footage on Lila's phone, their faces grim. "This is clear vandalism," Reyes said. "You're looking at charges for property damage, possibly public disturbance." Karen's protests grew frantic, but they fell on deaf ears. The passengers, now gathered at the bus windows, watched as she was handcuffed. Her pink raincoat flapped in the drizzle, a pathetic contrast to her earlier dominance. The teenage boy, still filming, zoomed in on her face, no longer sneering, but pale, her eyes wide with shock. The crowd's murmurs turned to quiet satisfaction. Justice, it seemed, was swift. Karen's downfall was complete, but it wasn't just about handcuffs and police reports. It was about a community that refused to let her chaos reign. As the officers led her to the patrol car, the passengers began to talk among themselves, their voices a mix of relief and indignation. Lila, still holding her now cold coffee, turned to Mr. Chun. "You were amazing back there," she said. He smiled, a quiet pride in his eyes. "I've seen too many people like her get away with it. Not today." The mother with the toddler, whose name was Maria, joined them. "My daughter's daycare is across town. This bus is our lifeline. Thank you for speaking up." The teenage boy, whose name was Ethan, uploaded his video to a local news site, captioning it, "Karen learns a lesson on the 7." The legal consequences were swift and unforgiving. Karen was charged with vandalism and disorderly conduct, her actions documented in high-definition clarity. The footage, now circulating online, became a viral sensation, not because of her rage, but because of the passengers' response. They hadn't just recorded her, they'd stood together, refusing to let her entitlement win. The transit authority estimated the damage at $2,500, a cost Karen would have to cover. Her job at the call center, already hanging by a thread, was gone by the next day. Her supervisor, who'd seen the news, cited conduct unbecoming in her termination letter. Karen's name became a cautionary tale, whispered in Seattle's coffee shops and bus stops. But the story didn't end with her arrest. Something bigger emerged from the wreckage of that morning. Lila, inspired by the unity she'd witnessed, started a community group called Ride Together. Its mission was simple: to advocate for better public transit and to support drivers like Jamal, who faced abuse daily. Mr. Chun became an unofficial advisor, sharing stories of the city's transit history. Maria organized fundraisers to repair damaged buses, and Ethan, the teenager, designed a website to share their work. The group grew, drawing in commuters, drivers, and even local officials. They didn't just want to fix what Karen had broken, they wanted to build something stronger. Jamal, who'd kept his calm through it all, was recognized by the transit authority with a commendation for professionalism. At the ceremony, he spoke quietly but powerfully. "This job isn't just about driving. It's about keeping people safe, keeping the city moving." That day, it wasn't just might, was all of us. The passengers from the number 7 were there, clapping, their faces a mix of pride and gratitude. Karen's actions had meant to tear them apart, but instead, they'd forged a bond, a reminder that a community could be more than the sum of its parts. Karen, meanwhile, faced her reckoning. In court, she pleaded guilty, her lawyer arguing she'd been under stress, that the bus incident was an anomaly. But the judge wasn't swayed. The videos, the witnesses, the pattern of behavior, it all painted a clear picture. She was sentenced to community service, cleaning bus stops across the city, a fitting irony. As she scrubbed graffiti under the watchful eye of a supervisor, she was no longer the loud, untouchable figure she'd been. She was just Karen, a woman who'd pushed too far and lost everything. The number 7 bus kept running, its new fare machine gleaming, its digital display restored. Passengers boarded each morning, some nodding to Jamal, others sharing a quiet smile with Mr. Chun or Lila. They didn't talk about Karen much anymore. She was a footnote, a lesson learned. What they talked about was the future. Better buses, safer rides, a city that worked for everyone. The rain still fell, the traffic still crawled, but something had shifted. They'd seen what they could do together, and that was enough to keep them moving forward.